My name is Jillian Peña. I'm a dance and video artist based primarily in Brooklyn, New York. Well, we're here at Impulstanz in Vienna, Austria, where I just had the European premiere of a piece called Polly Pocket. And Polly Pocket is... pause. It's inspired by those German miniature toys that it's like a miniature dollhouse that opens up and it can fit in your pocket though, so that's where the name comes from. And I really was trying in this work to, as I'm always inspired by architecture, but this is like a private world. It should feel like a very self-contained, exclusive machine in some way. And I'm always inspired by ballet, the history of ballet, and also how that lives in your body and in my dancers' bodies, which is always a little bit different, but also from a similar childhood narrative in a way. So I used a lot of ballet, and that's,
Yeah, it's interesting because so you can see also how you are crossing kind of perhaps many axes, in relationship with the formalism, perhaps. I saw like this kind of formalisms and also allusion to structures and, the abstraction generated by numbers and some kind of nonsensical yet juxtaposed narrative of relationships. Can you tell us a little bit about that? And what if the other thing, kind of this almost kaleidoscopic feeling of mirrors, but mirrors very kind of geometrical and so, and then the ballet is there as I see it as like as a method or something to evoke something. Anyway, so this is my big interpretation.
Okay, that was a lot, so I'm going to just take it.
Yes.
Take it step at a time. I think that I was really interested in a cyclical feeling, a feeling that you're trapped and that time just repeats itself and cycles back in on itself. I feel like it's really... Have you seen Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead or read that? No. It's just... basically, I want it to be that these three people, or mostly the two people, Alex and Andrew, are really stuck in a personal loop, and it's not... And I want it to be blurry, whether it's one person that is just twinned in a way, or two people, or three people. I think I'm incredibly inspired by psychoanalysis, and I love this author. I think he's Austrian, Otto Rank.
Otto Rank, yeah.
Yeah, you know about them?
Yeah.
That the most complicated relationship we all have is that of the self to the self, to itself. And so I think that this dance might look like a trio, but in fact it's kind of a solo, and I don't even know of whom, but it's these two people seeing themselves through each other and seeing everything laid out as themselves multiplied or extended, how we look out in the world and we see so many things, but actually we're also just seeing ourselves. So I wanted to make that cyclical loop not just in the content, but also in the form, in a way, but without it being like, I'm using repetition, but that things will constantly feel familiar.
And how did lend ballet to that, the formalism of ballet?
I know that I can get an answer, but I feel like what inspires me about ballet is how it feels in my body, this rigid quality, and especially I'm inspired by Russian ballet, like the Kirov ballet, and the history of the communism in ballet, that these children are... Have you seen the movie Children of Theatre Street? Yes. So they're chosen based on like bone structure and on their flexibility, on their ligaments, you know, and that it's machine-like. It's kind of like Huxley's Brave New World.
Yeah, they're kind of replicants, or
right.
Yeah.
That really, but there's a desire, at least for me, that there's this push between wanting to be an individual, but also wanting to be exactly like the entire group. And so to me, ballet really is a great metaphor for that in a way, because we're trying to do these very ornate positions, and they feel so specific to ourselves, but they also are they have such a long history, such a long lineage, that you're referencing so many times, so many different moments in history and in culture. I don't know how ballet perseveres through all of this, but I love that about it.
Yeah, what is that keeps happening, and I also felt that you were using it almost as more than as how it looks in pieces or in big operas. It's more like how it looks in class. You know, there was something about it going to the diagonals. Okay, now we're gonna do this, and then the strange queerness of all the angles, you know, from the relationships to the customs, and then the third character, and you know, there's something very queer about it.
Right.
That is almost like a rap.
Right. Well, there's something kind of queer about ballet, anyway.
Yes. Yeah.
And so I want to pull that out. I mean, I think it's just in how they all relate to each other, and also even the temporality feels queered. Right. That it's not a linear line. You're not going to get a clear narrative and a clear end result, that it just keeps on twisting and turning and unclear.
Yeah. How do you think that this work sits in your body of work? You know, because I can see, you know, resonances in the video aesthetic and some kind of this cloning or repetition, and that is mostly in the video that shows up on some moment. It's like, wow, it's like, okay, have more of yourself here as a present.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think I turned to video actually just as a way to solve this interest of mine, that I started out making just live dance, but that I wanted people cloned like this, and it felt complicated. I mean, that's a political choice, and that's it has some heavy history in there, like this fascist aesthetic, and I didn't feel like that was actually okay to be doing to people that I knew, people that I liked, and so I was like, I'm just gonna make videos where I multiplied myself, because that was the only solution. And then I just fell in love with video and the possibilities, the extra world that you can create. But I do feel like this work is me finally putting those two things together, and that's a lot inspired by Alex and Andrew, because how they relate to each other is so beautiful. I mean, it's like a real queer love.
Yeah, and it's this kind of counterpoint that happens all the time.
It's constantly shifting, and I feel like in this piece, when we started this work, they didn't really know each other. They had met, I think, a couple times, but through this process, they've gotten to know each other. And so, it's about their constantly shifting relationship in a way.
Yeah. And how do you see it in relationship to, you know, because if it's the self, how is yourself in it?
Me?
Yeah. You know, because I felt like that's kind of the main attractor of the loop, you know. It's like, okay, perhaps, you know, do you see something of yourself in it?
I mean, I see, it doesn't feel specific to me, actually. It feels like my own interests in history, in relationships, in different ways of trying to create friendships and intimate relationships that fail sometimes and succeed, and what you're really looking for and what you're getting. And yeah, I do feel like the movement, that the positions and the positions of the body are something that rest in me in an interesting way. Like, that I feel, and that's, like I said, what I like about ballet, that I put my arm here, but like, to me it feels like so loaded. Like, this feels, I sense a history. And also I was really inspired by like gymnastics. They do a lot of, I mean, it is kind of my history in dance that you can see in that. It's like Russian ballet, gymnastics, I mean, just my obsession. Some maybe like jazz competition type things. I mean, but I hope that you can't even piece apart those different things. I hope that it's a language that just makes sense as its own world. But I don't feel like this work is about myself.
Great. And what about how do you place yourself now in your work towards the future? What I always feel like, these pieces become some kind of little essays of what we like, what we're doing, what we're interested. What is going on right now in your interests?
Yeah.
Where are you heading to?
I do feel a little bit scared because this piece feels so important to me, and it feels like kind of the culmination, like I said, that it was bringing together my interest in live performance and in video.
Yeah.
And so I felt a little bit nervous, but I'm excited that I'm going to start working on a different piece with a different form, but with the same dancers, and I'm sure exploring some of the same themes. I mean, honestly, I'm fine if in 10 years from now my work, everything looks a little bit, I mean, that's okay. I feel like I've already been making the same piece over and over in different ways, and I keep on doing that.
I can see my notebook sometimes from 1994,
Right.
and it's a lot of the same ideas, and you can kind of going around it,
It's
and
crazy.
kind of these phases around the same epicenters or something.
Right, and I don't want to fight that. I love that statement that pay attention to what you pay attention to.
Yeah.
That I'm paying attention to what I pay attention to.
Like how Barbara Kruger said, it's like our obsessions becomes our projects.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, and I hope that we keep the conversation going. Very nice to see you back on track, and the horse, all the horses that are possible to be in.
Right. Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.